Hey guys, this is Get Jesse, and this is my Zerg unit guide. Previously I did my Terran unit guide, and you can find that in my StarCraft 2 playlist on my channel. Next up, after the Zerg unit guide, I'll be doing a Protoss unit guide. I don't know when that will be, but it'll be sometime. Anyway, let's get started. The first basic Zerg unit is the Larva, which comes from the hatchery, and the larva is pretty much what the Zergs use to produce all their units. The larva morphs into other Zerg units. Next up for the Zergs is the basic worker unit, which is the drone. It's pretty much the same thing as the SCV. The only difference is that it's not a mechanical unit, it can't repair, and it can burrow. Something new in StarCraft 2 that's different from StarCraft 1 is that all Zerg units can burrow after you research the burrow upgrade. Next up is the basic Zerg bread and butter unit, which is the Zergling. Right here you can see that the Zerglings have little wings. That's because they have the movement upgrade. Before they get the movement upgrade, they don't have those little wings, so they look more like normal Zerglings. The Zergling is a light biological ground unit. It can attack only ground units. It does normal damage. It can also burrow. And something new for StarCraft 2 is that it can morph into a different unit, which is the Baneling, which are these green little guys here. The Baneling is a biological ground unit. It's not light or armored, so it doesn't take any extra damage from any special attacks. It's a suicide unit. It cannot attack. It can only attack by blowing itself up. When it blows itself up, it does extra damage to light units. It can also burrow, so if enemy units come on top of a group of burrowed Banelings, they're in for a surprise when the Banelings unburrow. If you can see down here, the Baneling has two commands. You can tell a Baneling to blow up where it's standing, which is basically an attack command that forces it to suicide, like that. And then there's another one that does extra damage to structures. And yeah, I don't think I can attack my own structures, but it's basically a special suicide attack that does extra damage versus structures. So anyway, that's the Baneling. Next up is the Roach, which is a armored biological ground unit. It has a ranged attack that can only attack ground units. It does normal damage against ground units. It can, like I said, all Zerg ground units can burrow, so it can burrow. But something different about the Roach from other Zerg units that can burrow is that the Roach can move while it's burrowed. So this is very interesting compared to StarCraft 1 because it opens up a lot of new tactical possibilities, which I really won't go into right now since that's out of the scope of the purpose of this video. But anyway, it's interesting. Another thing about the Roach is that while it's burrowed, it increases the rate of health regeneration that it has as opposed to when it's unburrowed. So if Roaches take a lot of damage from a battle or something, you can burrow them and they'll quickly regenerate. It'd probably also be a good idea to burrow them while you're in the middle of a battle. That way it'll burrow them and make them invisible to enemy units, saving the unit and saving your money, and they'll also regenerate quickly. So if the battle's a long battle, you might even be able to unburrow them and continue the fight. So anyway, that's the Roach. Next up is the Hydrolysk. And the Hydrolysk is a light biological ground unit. It does normal damage and can attack both ground and air units. There's not much else to say about the Hydrolysk. It can burrow, of course. It's basically, you can basically think of it as an upgraded beefy marine. So it's pretty much a multi-purpose unit that's good in a lot of situations. Next up for the Zerg ground units is the ultimate Zerg ground unit, which is the Ultralisk. The Ultralisk is an armored biological massive unit. Remember, massive makes it immune to certain effects. The Ultralisk, it does increased damage to armored units, and it also has a special attack that does lots of damage to structures. And StarCraft 2 Zerg units can burrow, so the Ultralisk can burrow too, which from a gameplay standpoint, it's pretty cool. Okay, and then the last Zerg ground unit is the Infester. This is the Zerg's caster unit. It is an armored biological psionic ground unit. It has no attack. It has a frenzy ability. So this is what it looks like. You can cast it on multiple units and it renders them immune to stuns and it increases their damage. The next up is the, what's it called? Fungal Growth, which is an area of effect spell. And whenever it hits enemy units, it does 36 health damage over 8 seconds. And it also immobilizes all the targets in that area. And it reveals cloaked and burrowed units. So it's a multi-purpose spell that's really useful. Last up for the Infester is the Neural Parasite ability, which is basically mind control. It takes over a unit and gives control of them to you. The main thing that's different about this kind of mind control from StarCraft 1 is that whenever the Infester mind controls a unit, you lose control of the Infester. And if the Infester is killed, then the mind controlled unit reverts back to its original owner. So anyway, that's all the... Oh, actually there's one more Zerg ground unit, which is the Queen. The Queen is basically the Zerg's defensive unit. Not only is it a defensive unit, it's a macro base management unit. So it's a unit that every Zerg player gets no matter what. It's like the drone. It's a necessary unit in order to function properly in a game. The Queen is a biological psionic ground unit. It can attack both ground and air units, and it does normal damage. Its first ability is the ability to make a creep tumor, which is this right here. And what it does is it creates this little blob thing, and when it's done building, it'll start expanding the creep over here. And whenever this thing is created, the creep tumor can actually create another creep tumor for free without costing any extra energy. So that's what I'll do right now. If I can find a place to put it. I can't put it right here because this is a ramp right here, but I'll just put it over here. But anyway, these creep tumors, when you create them, you can just basically keep on creating a line of them for free, because now this creep tumor can spawn another creep tumor. So anyway, that's creep tumors. The next Queen ability is the spawn larva ability, which you can use on hatcheries. And what that does is it allows the hatchery to have some extra larvae. It basically increases larva production and allows you to have more than just 3 larvae, so you can build more units.